What's in the cards for you this week? We're going to take a look at that. I'm going to make sure that I am live on all the platforms. So as you hop on, let me know where you're watching from and say hello. Okay, so what's in the cards for you this week? Let me see and make sure that I am live. Oh, there we go. I think it worked. All right, so placing your hand on your heart, you're going to just tune in and ask, what's the most important thing that you need to know about the week ahead? Woo, I get two cards that are popping out. Okay, first card, Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is, I think of it like the fairy godmother card. Make a wish. This is your opportunity to really leap for it and go for it. She's been underwater. Water symbolizes and represents emotions and feelings. Nine is a fullness here. So there's a fullness of joy, but there's also a feeling where many of my clients I know, many of my students have been feeling overwhelmed. They've been really feeling weighed down. They've been feeling the pressure. Think about like when you go under the water, the pressure increases the deeper you go. And this is a breaking free. It's like we found the treasure. And where was the treasure? Well, it was deep. It was deep within. We had to go through the emotions to find it. We had to go through that season of Cancer, the wonderful zodiac. The sun was in Cancer. And now, happy birthday, Leos. The sun just moved into Leo. It's happy, happy, happy joy place. And this is expressing that joy. It is a little bit of that. I want to say, how good can you stand it? But more so, what have you been wishing for? What have you been longing for? What have you felt like has been unachievable or an obstacle, like, it could never be? This is a week to expect miracles for sure. The other aspect that comes up with the Nine of Cups is the Queen of Cups. So still lots of cup energy, which is water, emotion, intuition. This is a week where it's important to figure out, how do I trust my intuition? So if these miracles are coming, you say, Irina, if these things are happening, how will I know? When will I see them? When will they come? Well, miracles, and they don't work on a time schedule, not by demand. But there are things that we can do to align ourselves to more readily see them, to more easily open to the potentials and the possibilities of being in the right place at the right time. How? Why? It's because we're trusting our nudges, those hunches, those inklings, those little knowings. And that's where the Queen of Cups comes in. She says you can trust your intuition. So let's just take a moment and talk about, how can you trust intuition? How do you know it's intuition? There are three little gates. I run whatever insight, nudge, hunch that comes to me, I run them through. The first thing is it love-based or is it fear-based? If I get an idea, a feeling, something pops into my field, my knowing, and I'm scared and I'm really, really, really fearful, I know that it's really most likely not my intuition. It's something else interfering. Now, how do I know this? Well, over time, I've been practicing and playing with developing my intuition over the last 30 years. It's part of the reason why I made the Inside of the Moon journal, so we can track the data and you can come back to it and say, oh my gosh, when I get this feeling, when I get this knowing, I now can fully, completely in confidence say that's my intuition. And that's me just kind of off in my head or in my worries or ego or other people's ideas and opinions coming in. I've had lots of experience that I've documented where bad stuff has been happening and I get a little nudge or hint, and it's so sweet and it's so loving, and I pay attention and I look and I'm like, oh my God. Like the world is falling apart. But did my angels or my guides or God say, your world is falling apart, you're under attack? No, they're like, check your email. Somebody might have sent a nice note. So there are amazing ways that intuition comes through, but it will always, always, always be love-based, even if it's an intense moment in time. Your angels, your guides, God, I'm not going to try to scare the living lights out of you. Okay, so love-based, number one. Number two, how do you know it's intuition? It's consistent. It's not changing its message. So for example, if you get a feeling about let's say contacting a person. It's not going to be like, oh, you know what? You should call your brother. And then 10 minutes later, oh, no, you should call your best friend. Or, oh, no, you know what? Go out for a walk. It's going to be contact your brother. Now, the ways that you might contact your brother might change. Like maybe your angels are saying, okay, call them, or text them or just walk over. But it's always about getting, like, the main message is consistent. Connect and contact your sibling. Boom. So it's a consistent message. The third and final thing, it happens more than 3 times. So it's been repeated. So it might pop up once and I'll be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, a little coincidence. And then it'll pop up again. And I'll say, something's trying to get my attention. And by the time, now I don't even wait till 3. But sometimes I do. By the time it pops up a third time, and it's usually within a 24-hour period. And really, it's more like within an hour. So we're not like saying like within a year's time, it's popped up, consistently. Like in a short time, it's popped up at least 3 times. And you're saying, okay, this is something I need to pay attention to. So how do you know it's your intuition? Number 1, love-based. It's coming in love. It's not making you act out of fear. It's consistent. The message isn't changing. And it's been repeated at least 3 times. And that's just my trusted and true tried formula that I have used for many, many decades. And it always works. And that's what this week is saying, it's saying, listen, there's opportunity available to you, but you need to be tuned into your intuition to know when to take action, when to go, when to stay, when to move. And it's highlighting that with the Queen of Cups, which is saying you are a highly intuitive person, or you can even contact a highly intuitive person. Learn how to develop your intuition. I just opened the doors to my big, beautiful program called Mastering Your Intuition. I'll make sure the link is around this video somewhere so that you could join in and have fun. But develop your intuition. There are ways to do it. We're all intuitive to some level. And what I find more often than not is many of my clients and students have shut down their natural intuitive abilities as children because they were scared. They saw things or heard things that were scary and they didn't want to experience that. They didn't have anyone around them to let them know, oh, this is okay. Here are the skills you can develop so it doesn't just happen randomly. You don't feel like a victim. It's not happening to you, but you can take seniority in your space and say, you know what? I'm the spiritual being having the human experience here. I'm not going to deal with any of these energies that aren't fun or pleasant. The other thing is that we've had adults in our life as children, very intuitive, highly sensitive children that say, you're making that up. It's all in your head. Stop telling tall tales. And they're like, let me know what you got in trouble for most as a child. This was a fun post I did in my free Facebook group a ways back where we talked about what we got in trouble for. And I would get in trouble for telling stories, but I wasn't telling stories. I was intuitively reading people and adults, and they weren't happy. So it was interesting, right? Because sometimes kids, they just know things. They have those phrases like, kids say the darndest things. Yeah, because they're highly intuitive and they're picking up on things that many adults are like, shh, we're not going to talk about that. So anyway, that's what I encourage you to hold on to for the week, is that knowing of the more you develop your intuition, the easier it's going to be to to see and receive the miracles, because miracles really truly are around us day in, day out. We just don't always see them or are able to acknowledge them or even receive them. Okay. Hey, by the way, if we haven't had a chance to really get to know each other and meet before, my name's Irina. I'm what I call an energy alchemist, a spiritual life guide. I have been studying the sacred arts and practices for many, many, many a moon for the last 30 years. And I say that because the 90s doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But why do I tell you this? I tell you this just so you know a little bit who I am, where I come from, and why I do this, because my mission is to help empathic, curious seekers like yourself use and learn and engage with the sacred tools and practices that enable you to step into the life that you were born to live. So let's jump into this. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is the energy of the week. So with the energy of the week, I always look at the phase of the moon. And what's the phase of the moon doing? This week, we just had a new moon on Sunday, new moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees, and we saw a lot of things come to an end. A lot of people realize that the world and us, things are shifting. And so things are coming to a close. And with that full moon, because full moon is a culmination, it's a celebration of success, of completing a project, and being able to look back and reflect and say, wow, look how far we've come. Look at what we've accomplished. Now the moon is growing dark. It's waning. So as we go into this week, it's called a waning gibbous. And the waning gibbous is all about the light of the moon getting dimmer and dimmer. And when the moon or the light of the moon gets dim, our energy also might start to get a little bit lower or slower. We're also going to be a little bit more introverted. It is a time for letting go. So the more you can align your actions with the rhythms of nature around you, especially the cycles of the moon, because the moon affects us on a daily basis, the easier things can become. It becomes more in flow. It's not like we're getting into the river and trying to swim upstream. Instead, we're getting into a river and swimming with the current. So sure, we could build new things, we could launch things, we could go out and get very excited and tell the world about all these brand new things in our life. Most definitely. It just might take a little bit more energy because we're going against the current. So again, remember, you have free will. You can choose how to engage with this energy however you like. But if you think about it like the weather outside, we've had really hot, muggy days here. And I could say, well, it doesn't matter, it's a hot, muggy day. I want to wear my new, boots and furry coat. I'm going outside in 100-degree weather in these clothes. I can't feel like the victim at that point. Be like, who turned the heat up here, outside? Because I've chosen to ignore the weather report. I've chosen to wear clothes I want to wear, and that's fine. But then we engage or encounter hotter weather and maybe tougher conditions. So what I'm proposing and why I do these energy weather reports is just to give you a heads up. Hey, energy is going to be like this week. You get to choose. Again, you take seniority in your space. Life isn't happening to you. How will you engage with this weather? Are you going to wear the fuzzy furry coat, or are you going to say, but today's a day for shorts and a t-shirt or a nice little dress? I'm not going to get too layered up because I'll overheat. And that's the purpose. So when we know it's a waning phase, the moon, whether it's a waning gibbous or a waning crescent, we're letting go. We're releasing. We just had the full moon, which is saying, okay, we had success. We've taken some time to reflect on what we've been building, whether we've reached a mile marker in our project or we finished one completely. And 29 Capricorn's really, about finishing something big. Now it's saying, what is important for me to let go so that I can move forward? Maybe it's cleaning out the closet and donating items. Maybe it's a weight loss program. Maybe it's letting go of the old mindsets and beliefs that have been holding you back. Maybe it's reevaluating where you've been pouring your energy and your time and your resources. It's an evaluation period. The other thing is that Mercury, we're in the shadow of it going retrograde. It goes retrograde on August 4th. So that's coming up very, very soon. And we start to feel the effects of Mercury retrograde when it's in its shadow. What it means by shadow is Mercury looks like it's going forward in the sky. We'll just say it that way for the ease of simplicity. And then all of a sudden it looks like it's at a standstill. And we're in that standstill spot. It's not really standing still, but to us, it appears like that. And then it'll appear almost as if it's moving backwards. It's not moving backwards. It's kind of an illusion of the eye. But when it goes backwards, quote unquote, it's going retrograde. And whenever a planet goes retrograde, it's a time for review, reanalyzing, reassessing, relaxing, releasing. It's all the re's. And then you look at the planet it's engaged with. So Mercury, our communication, our technology, our cars. That's why they say back up your data, give yourself a couple extra minutes to get to an appointment or double check your appointments. Technology might be a little wonky. We're feeling that already. We're in the shadow. So even though it hasn't started to look like it's going backwards yet, we're feeling the effects of it. So do begin to back up your data. Be mindful of the words you're saying. Know that communication, you might say one thing, but somebody might hear something else completely differently. So be gentle and kind to one another. It's one of the I love how the practices in the inside of the moon journal just line up with what we're doing. Even though it's dateless, you can stop and start wherever you want. There are things that really line up this week that just made my heart so happy to help us with the energy of the week. Things that I've written in here, sacred practices, affirmations, and the like. Okay, so with that being said, the last thing I'll say about the phase of the moon is that on Sunday, we get to a last quarter moon, which I always see as a healing moon. It's a time to really practice compassion towards ourselves. It's a time to say, you know what? We need to realize that in any given moment, we're giving it our best. We're showing up with what we have, what we know, our energy levels, and we're doing the best we can in the moment. And with that being said, even though we might give our best, it might fall short. We might not make the grade. We might not make the cut. Been listening to some really beautiful interviews. One, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's new podcast, Wiser Than Me, and she's interviewing Debbie Allen. And Debbie Allen's recalling a time where her whole community was counting on her. She'd flown out from where she lived, I think it was Dallas at the time, to North Carolina to audition for a school. And she gave it her all, and she didn't make it. And she felt like she had let down her entire community, that the weight of all of it had been riding on her shoulders. And it took her a while to heal from that, as it would anyone. Holy cannoli. I mean, think about the pressure you put on yourself, the, level of expectations. Often we set those standards very high for ourselves. We can be so kind and compassionate to someone else, but to ourselves, so tough and sometimes very mean. So practicing compassion towards yourself, that last quarter moon or third quarter moon before we get to the new moon next week, is a time for healing. Because if you hang on to the shame, the blame, and the guilt, you're not going to have the ability to see the miracles coming into your life, because you're not going to feel worthy to receive them. Why would I receive such a miracle or a gift or an opportunity, you might think, because of ABCXYZ in your life? Okay, let's jump in to the week ahead. Hello, Eleanor. I'm so glad you made it. Yeah, technology has just definitely been a little wonky for me this morning. So I'm, seeing comments in drips and trickles. I think there's a different word for that. Okay, so for this week, Monday, every week I start off, I set an intention. I work on my top 3, which I'm not quite sure yet what I want my top 3 to be. The crystal that I'm working with, aventurine, it's a crystal of the month. The ritual is karuna. It's a yoga hand gesture, a mudra. And how am I going to nourish or feed my spirit? Because self-care is a wonderful thing, but I think what most people are craving is soul care. They need that recharging of their batteries, that recharging of their energy, to just get back out there in life, to feel recharged and ready to be there for others and to bring light to this world. Otherwise, they're burned out and they just feel like the world is against them. So feeding your soul care, super important. It could be simple as a walk. It could be listening to great music. The other thing that I do is I look at the affirmations at the top. I am fearless and I am lovable. Every month, or every week, I should say, I have 2 affirmations just at the tippity top of the page, just to remind us. And I like the fearless one, especially for this week with some of the things that are happening. So we talked about waning gibbous moon, Leo sun. Happy birthday, Leos. Let me know in the comments if you're a Leo. I want to wish you a happy birthday. And Mercury retrograde. Those are the big things. A new moon next week. But Monday, the moon is in Aquarius. And let's just start off with pulling a card. So placing your hand on your heart and just asking, what's the most important thing you need to know about Monday's energy? I love the laughter here. The Hierophant. The Hierophant represents tradition. It represents Capricorn energy, structure, the patriarchy. This is the way, these are the rules. This is the, I'll say organization, but it's even stricter than that. It's like, this is the structure and the framework, and we're not going to vary from it. But I love how free and light the artist of this deck, Chris Ann, has made the Hierophant, laughing and joyful, and like there's many pathways to the light. And if you look closely around the Hierophant's head, you've got the beautiful Ichthys, the Jesus fish as it's known. You've got the Triskelion, and from Celtic traditions, you've got the pentagram, you've got Who else is there? I can't see back. Oh, the symbol Om that many people see in yoga or in other traditions. Yeah, so lots of beautiful symbols. And then there's the beautiful lotus flower at the top, which in yoga traditions can represent like the many-petaled lotus flower of samadhi, of enlightenment we're working towards in that crown chakra. So you are being encouraged on Monday with the moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is really about thinking outside the box. It's about being innovative, creative, seeing the world differently, definitely humanitarian aspect. It also is about connecting with others. The Aquarian energy rules an area of the sky and the heavens of our charts that has to do with friendship. It has to do with organizations. You know, sometimes, and this is what's coming to mind to say, sometimes we can get very frustrated because of the rules that are set up. And we think, how will I achieve my goals? How will I get to my end purpose? Because there's so many rules, there's so many regulations. But there is a way. What's in the way is the way. Through the setup, through the structure, you're going to find a way to utilize it to reach your goals. And here's what I mean by that. In ninth grade, I had this English teacher, and it was a very interesting assignment she gave us. She said, I want you to write, beginning of the year, a little like autobiography about yourself. Explain who you are, what you like, what you don't like, just so I can get to know you. And you're not allowed to use the word I. Thought, how am I going to write a whole like 1,000-word essay or whatever it was, 500, it wasn't too big, about myself and not say, oh, I'm Irina. I love this color. I love this food. I like this music, right? Because it's I. And it drove me bonkers. But it was such an incredible lesson. And in the end, so fun. And it stuck with me all these years. How incredible. So this particular card is that reinforcement of, even within the rules, there can be a lot of creativity. So don't feel bound by the rules and suffocated by them. Think of it creatively and how you can use it a little differently. One of my fur babies just came in to join the fun. Okay. Tuesday, moon is still in Aquarius. Let's find out what's going on. Hello, Bev. And Eleanor, oh, you're in August Leo. Love it. August 6th. Happy early birthday. Oh, great, Leo. No wonder you have such great hair. Ooh, I'm feeling all sorts of cards popping out. I'm just going to see who they are. Okay. And Julie, love this deck. I know the artist, you really tapped into something incredible with this deck. And Eleanor, you say you do, yeah, day, month, opposite. Yes. I do remember that. So I'm glad you say that. Back in the day. I know that was a fun thing. I lived in Ireland for a time. My father was stationed over there, and I had the incredible blessing to be able to go to school. And it just, yeah, the special place in my heart, Ireland, for so many reasons. And I have a lot of family over there too, still in the West. Okay, let's tune into Tuesday's energy. So as you say hello to Tuesday, moon in Aquarius, what's the most important thing that you need to know? Oh, it's interesting. Hold on. I'm going to go back to Tuesday. Okay, well, that's coming up with Tuesday. Okay, two things. So King of Pentacles popped up first, which is an incredible card of, this is someone who knows what they're doing. They've been around the block. They have the skill set, they have the knowledge base and the wisdom. They've had great successes in their life. They are not in a rush. They're not letting anybody push them or bully them into a decision. They could have a panel of advisors, sure, but they ultimately are the ones making the decision, not anyone else. And what popped up with it is the 10 of Wands. And the 10 of Wands is saying the hardest part is over. You have climbed the mountain and you've gotten down to the other side. The hardest part has been completed, but yet all this baggage is still being carried. So think about the phase of the moon this week, that waning phase, waning gibbous, that's saying, let go. You don't have to carry so much. It doesn't have to be so heavy. It doesn't have to be so intense. Let go. What can you let go of this week? What might you be carrying that could impede your success, that could impede you reaching the dreams of the fairy godmother? Like fairy godmother comes up and says, hey, you want to go to the ball? This is great. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't have a dress or shoes. And she's like, I could get you a dress and shoes. And, it's like, oh, well, not my size, or blah, blah, blah. How will you do that? Kind of like the Eeyore. We all get into that Eeyore phase at some point. But this is saying when you start to let things go, that heavy water energy becomes lighter. So just evaluate, what can I let go of? King of Pentacles or Knight of Pentacles, blah, 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 blah. Cancel, clearly delete. I said it right the first time. King of Pentacles is encouraging you, look at your kingdom or your queendom and say, okay, what's going on? Everything is cyclical. There are ups and there are downs. Where am I right now? If it feels like a down, don't feel like this is the end. Don't feel like this is, the only option. Things are cyclical. Just think of the seasons. The leaves or the trees lose their leaves in the fall, and the winter, everything seems like it's just a sea of sticks, but it comes back in the spring. So allow yourself to tune into the rhythms and say, okay, let me look at my data. What have I been journaling? What have I been writing? And if you haven't yet, start. And that starts to give us some peace. And again, I understand with the journaling stuff, I always want to journal, but I run out of time. So that's why in the inside of the moon journal, I make just these nice long skinny columns just to jot down quick insights. And then if I want to journal, I can do more so in the back. I've got extra room for that. Okay, so Wednesday, and let's see. Eleanor, you said you love my connection to the West of Ireland. Yep, me too. Such a beautiful family there. Feel truly blessed. And Eleanor, you said this card resonates so much. Intense energy shifts and realizations and acceptance and knowing that you can create your own reality. Yes, stepping more into this. Wonderful. And we can create our own reality. And that's a little bit of this week with that expecting of miracles. And I'm just holding a space. Think of all the people. I'm going to just pause for a moment. And speaking of the West of Ireland, not related, that would be very cool. I am related to Donahue's, but John O'Donohue, who wrote incredible, incredible books. And I want to just bring this one up. I bring this one up a lot. Anam Cara, which means soul friend in Gaelic, talks about the importance of awe and wonder. And so many of us lose that awe and wonder as we age. So that be like the little children because they can enter the kingdom of heaven. It's the idea of, it's the awe and the wonder, like, oh my God, what a miracle, how incredible. And very cynical people and people who've been, their heart has been so hurt and so drained and so burned would look at something and be like, whatever. Like, what do they say? Like, no good deed goes unpunished? Holy cannoli. Cancel, clear, delete, little chokeray with that. Empaths can get burned. They love so openly and so freely. And when they get burned enough times, they harden. That's the only way they know how to protect themselves. Like, this is a tough world. It's a hard place. You got to harden yourself. What if there's another way? And there is. That's what I teach in my Mastering Intuition program. And that's what I teach to you right here, right now in these live weekly calls, is that we can be grounded, we can be present, we can be in the world, but not of the world. We can bring this love. And how do we do it? Learning how to trust your intuition, and then also tuning into the awe, the wonder. And it could be something as simple as like, oh, look at the sunrise this morning. This is gorgeous. Or the dew on the leaves. Or you just walk outside and you get just this nice cool breeze on a hot, muggy day. Simple as that. Okay. Wednesday, that is where we are. So on Wednesday, moon is in Pisces. And just as a side note, the moon moves into Pisces on Tuesday about 9:20 a.m. Eastern. And you might feel the shift of that a little bit. But we wake up to a moon in Pisces on Wednesday. So what's the most important thing you know about Wednesday's energy? 9 of Swords. So if you wake up with anxieties and worries, like how am I going to pull this off? How is this going to work? We all are at this point. That wonderful saying of, it's going to look different in the morning. It's going to look different in the daylight. We have all these birds. We have all these what looks like crows that might be going around giving messages and just causing distraction. But in the morning light, they look like doves. So what you dream of at night, and it's very subtle here, but there's a bed frame behind her. What you dream of at night might not be might not be fully what you encounter. So this is kind of like why I pause a little bit when we create our own reality, or perception is reality. Yes. And we have to be mindful this week because of the way Moon is dancing with Neptune and the way Neptune is showing up. It's more so on Thursday than Wednesday, but you might feel the effects on Wednesday. Neptune can bring us into illusion or into fantasy. We go into this daydreaming state and we kind of lose touch with reality. So it's a balance. And that's where discernment comes in. And for all of my students, for everyone who's here, one of the big, most important things, if the only thing you walk away with is grounding, that root flesh fill that I share, that is one of the greatest things. If it's the only thing you ever learn from me. Why? Because it places you into a spot of discernment. We can create our own reality. We can create beauty and awe and wonder. And at the same time, it's important to do it from a grounded perspective, because if we're not grounded, we can spin off into fantasy and into illusion. And even though so many of those aspects are around us, like talking about elementals and seeing air elementals and earth elementals and connecting with star seeds and beauty, right? We can go there, but at the same time to recognize we're still living on this earthly planet. Yes, we may be spiritual beings, but we've got a physical body. We're living within gravity. We're living in this 3D space, and we can experience the 5D and all of that, but we still need to eat. We still need to pay our bills, take care of our fur babies. So how do we balance it all? By grounding through discernment. We ground or we root, we flush everything out of our space that's not serving our highest, and we fill back up with awe, essentially, the golden light. So it's a balance. Anyway, so that comes up, I feel like, because this 9 of Swords. If the thoughts are coming, what I'm going to encourage you to do, we're going to just ask for another card for Wednesday. How can we make that most of Wednesday's energy where thoughts might be coming up and concerning us? Find a good friend and share. Share what's on your heart and what's on your mind. A trusted confidant, somebody that you really feel like, oh, you know what? I'm just so worried. I've got these things. I don't know what I'm going to do. They can act as a reflection. And if nothing else, hold space so that you can just vent and you can be heard. And that can make the hugest difference when our story is witnessed. Really, really powerful. And Julie, you say you love that book, The Anamkara. Yeah, I do too. It's like all dog-eared and marked. And Julie said, yeah, cancel, clear, deleting that. Exactly. Okay. From here, Thursday's energy. So Moon in Pisces moves into Aries early in the morning for some of us, later in the day for those across the pond. Around 10:53 a.m. Eastern, the moon will move into Aries. Now, why do I share this with you? I share it because what ends up happening is, sorry, I got a little distraction there. What ends up happening is you'll start off like with a moon in Pisces energy, and then all of a sudden there'll be a shift. And the more sensitive you are to the moon and to energy, the faster you'll feel it. Pisces moon can be very emotional, and it can lean towards worry a little bit. So what I encourage you to do with that energy, again, find the trusted confidant. Know that if you do something with water or with the music, that can also help ease the anxious thoughts and the worry, whether it's like a bath or you're just watching a YouTube video of the ocean or a waterfall, that can help. Aries is when the moon shifts into Aries, you might feel more in control. You might feel more confident, more powerful, like I am ready for this. I might have felt overwhelmed or anxious, but you know what? I've got this. So let's just talk about waking up with the moon in Pisces. What's the most important thing you need to know? 10 of Cups. I love it. So if you had reached out to a friend or a partner, it's that recognition that you're not alone. You are loved. You have community. You have family. This is a fullness of love, the fullest you can get. It's that feeling of somebody or something's got my back. My loved ones have my back. My community has my back. I've got friends in high places who are looking out for me. It's that realization and connection. And as the moon moves a little bit more into Aries, we're going to just say, yep, 9 of Pentacles. This is finally getting to that grounded place, the energy of Pentacles. So if you've noticed, there's a lot of Cups energy that's been coming up. Now, all of a sudden, we're in that Pentacles energy. It's that grounded place. It's that place of saying, take time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Take time to enjoy the beauty around you. This is that reinforcement of tuning into the awe and knowing that you have access to wisdom, the wise white owl. Okay, so Friday, moon in Aries. So again, Aries, bold, passionate, willing to take the risk. We might feel a little bit too, I hesitate to say impulsive, but Aries is like, let's go, we're going to do it. We'll think later. Let's just do it is the slogan for Aries. What's most important about Friday's energy? Okay. Choices. 7 of Cups. So back into this point where it's like, I don't know, do I take A or B? What's behind door number, 1, behind door number 2? There's a lot to choose from. This is that fantasy and illusion card. Great for writers, great for those who need to be imaginative and creative. But for us, this is, who aren't, let's say, creator, writers or screenwriters or in that world of imagination for our work. It's important that we have something that grounds us, something that says, okay, there's a lot going on right now. I don't have all the information. I don't have a clear picture. So rather than feeling forced into a decision, like a sense of urgency, like choose now, choose now, choose now, give yourself a moment until the fog clears, because there's a mist or a fog that's with this. And there's just like, I don't know. Why don't we know? Well, we don't have all the full information. We can't see what's beneath all of these cups or pots. Will we ever? Well, no, maybe not. But if it's a week where we're expecting miracles and we're being encouraged to trust our intuition, it's saying Friday is a day where, in order to make sure that it's really your intuition leading you, ground. And as you ground, call your energy, your spirit back to you so that you are ultimately making the choices and decisions when it comes to what you're doing. Okay, Saturday's energy. So Saturday, we start off with the moon in Aries, wake up to it, and then it's going to move into Taurus. It moves into Taurus about 1:30 p.m. I'm rounding up here. 1:30 p.m. Eastern, our time. Those across the pond, I think you're about 5 hours ahead of us right now. So it'd be about 6:30 p.m. your time. And when the moon moves into Taurus, that's like chill, relax, kick back, enjoy yourself. The work will always be there. Here, eat a grape, have some chocolate. just enjoy yourself. And I giggle because Aries is like, okay, running around, we're going to do this, going full pace. And Taurus is like, slow your roll. How will you ever be able to enjoy life if you go that quickly? Reminds me of Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he says, every now and then you got to stop and smell the roses or life will pass you by. So halfway through Saturday for some of us and later in the evening for others, you're going to notice this slow down energy. But in the beginning, when the moon first goes into Aries, what's most important that you need to know? The sexy devil himself. This card is such an interesting card. This is nothing outside of ourselves that's trying to control us or do something bad to us. This is where we make decisions that are not in our highest and best interest. This is us doing the stuff that's not going to be helpful or supportive of us. This is like the, maybe you think about the moon in Aries, you say, oh, I'm going to do all these projects and I'm going to run to all these stores and do all these errands. And you realize that you just exhaust yourself and you don't get to the whole to-do list. It was over, what's the word I want? Just your expectations were so high. It just wasn't going to happen. Or this is the not getting enough sleep. You stay up too late. Or this is having so much fun on Friday that, you wake up with like a hangover on Saturday. Or this is, where you over give of yourself in an area and you stretch yourself too thin. So ask yourself on Saturday, what are some of the habits? Because again, waning phase, want to let go. What are some of the habits or actions that you normally fall into that aren't good for you in the long run, that sabotage you or trip you up? So that when the moon moves into Taurus, how can you make the most of that? The beautiful Empress card is that, again, here's that cyclical nature. Things are cyclical. The Empress represents abundance and prosperity, but she's also saying it's not a get rich quick scheme, or it's not plant the corn seed in the morning, at breakfast because you want corn for dinner. It's like corn takes a certain cycle to grow, and it's not 10 or 12 hours. The Empress, she knows that. She says, I'm not in a rush. I know that miracles can take, their time, so to speak. They happen on their own timing, really. I know that the moon affects me. I know that just like the moon has its cycles, just like a pregnant woman has a gestational cycle of 40 weeks typically, that things take time. But there is prosperity, abundance, fertility there. So don't feel like you have to take the shortcut or shortchange yourself. This could also be like accepting the deal that feels meh. It's like, well, all right, it's okay. It's not in my highest and best interest, but it's good enough. It might be, I probably lost the card now, but that Seven of Cups, if we got pushed into a choice or a decision when we didn't have all the information, you think about trying to buy like a car, and holy cannoli, my son just bought a car and I was with him for the process. And it's so interesting the way your angels look out for you. When we went to this one particular dealership, and it was just one simple little question. Like, I got this little intuitive hit. I don't even remember if it was me or my son that asked it. And the insight was like, oh, well, wait a second. Let me go get my manager. And what did it, anyway, I won't give you the full backstory. We'll just kind of highlight it like that. Long story short, because of that one little question that we were inspired to ask, the set of lies that they had put into place, because it was a used car, basically saying, oh, it's had its full checkup, it's had the oil change, it's had the brakes redone, it's had this, 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 and this, because we had brought the car to a mechanic to inspect it beforehand, we knew that a lot of the things that they said were done hadn't been done. I mean, was it the end of the world? Was it a deal breaker? No, but it showed the nature and the quality of the people who were trying to sell us the car. And it didn't feel comfortable to go forward. Up until that point, he had seen the car the day before, like Seven of Cups, like, this looks great. Okay. And they're giving him, oh, you could do this. Da, 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 da. We waited just one more day. So even though it might seem very tempting and like, oh, this is great, like all this and more can be yours. So delicious and delectable. All you have to do is sign here on the dotted line. Take a moment to pause and say, corn doesn't grow overnight. Things take time. So just, again, that's that discernment. That's being grounded. So this is what I'm being called to say. And I know this is going a little bit long, but that too good to be true? Sometimes, yes, miracles are too good to be true. I am all for that. But when we're grounded and we're in discernment, we can really say, wow, this is incredible, versus like, is there some like weird, wacky catch with this? So we're just aware. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. And then Sunday, we move into the last quarter moon, and this is the healing phase. So if you have a healing practice you do, I would encourage you to do that on Sunday. And Sunday, how can you make the most of the energy? Seven of Swords. Holy cannoli, this is interesting how this is popping up. All these sevens. Hold on. What else do we need to know about Sunday? I'll describe this in a second. Okay, Three of Pentacles. Okay. Seven of Swords. So we had the Seven of Cups that popped up. We had the Devil card that popped up, and then the Seven of Swords. This is where it can be twofold. This is either where we think we can get away with something and not be noticed. Like, this always reminds me, okay, here's a funny story, because it doesn't always have to be like the end of the world bad. I went skiing for the first time, and you have like a 10 or 15 minute, like, oh, let's go down this little hill just to learn how to use the skis. And I was a teenager, and you had to hold on to this rope to get to the top of the little bump and just get used to going down the bump with the skis. And so I'm holding onto the rope, and I'm holding onto the rope, and it was exhausting holding onto that rope, getting pulled to the tippity top. And I thought, as I got closer and closer to the top, and the person in front of me let go, and they just kind of went on their little way to the top of the hill, I thought, oh, I think I'm at the top of the hill and I'm so tired. And I thought, I think it's okay for me to let go. And I let go, but I really wasn't fully at the top of the hill. And on skis, there's no like halfway point. You're either there or you're not there. It's either flat or there's an angle. So when I let go, it was not exactly the top of the hill. I was pretty much there, but not exactly. So when I let go, like a domino, I skied backwards and I knocked out everybody behind me. I was so embarrassed. Now it was like 5 people. No one was hurt. Thank God. You know, it was just like a little bump, like this tiny little baby hill. But it was so embarrassing. So this is saying you can't cut corners. You can't cheat yourself and think you're going to get away with it. You're going to knock everybody down or knock yourself down. This can also be sounding the alarm of like, who's around you? Are they not doing things that are in your highest and best interest? Go back to your community of trusted friends and confidants, and maybe like your advisors. 3 of Pentacles really represents an expert, someone they come to this group for advice. So you've got the woman down here who's helping to create the beautiful tapestry, the man who's helping support it and hang it. And you have this advisor here saying, oh, you know what, from my perspective, I can see the colors. From my expertise, I can see the level. You need to lift a little bit higher on this side, lower on that side. She's giving her expertise. So if you feel like something isn't on the up and up, whether it's something you're doing yourself, like I should have checked, like, am I high enough? Can I let go now? Or would this be a disaster? Check in with a trusted advisor. Okay, so that is the week ahead. Holy cannoli. That has been a lot. And Eleanor said, LOL, yes, your head is in fantasy most of the time. I know it's easy for us intuitives and empaths to be there, most definitely. And it's fun and it's playful, and sure, why not? And at the same time, to be grounded so that we don't forget to eat. We don't forget to pay the water bill. You have to get lost in, and then life happens, and grounded with a bang. Yeah, finding balance between 3D and 5D, exactly. And Eleanor, you said you've been manifesting and wanting and needing a new, I think it's a car, for about 2 years, and it never came to fruition, and you accepted that knowing the time wasn't right yet. Yes. Well, last week you finally got your car. Yay. The moment you saw it and had an image of it at your house, oh my gosh, you went for it, but allowing it to take whatever course it needed. Yes, yes, yes. Trusted the process. And you're so happy and proud that it's now sitting at your house. Yay, car. Fantastic. Exactly. And that's a beautiful thing about manifesting. Okay. Have an incredible week wherever you are. If this has been helpful for you, please do share it with a friend. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe so that you get the latest and greatest information. And it really, truly helps me out so much to get this message and word out and all of these sacred practices so that we can make this world a happy, joyful place and a creative place, fun, filled with awe and imagination. And at the same time, we remember to brush our teeth. All right. Have a great day. Mwah. Much love.